People are the currency. It doesn't matter where you've been, what you're doing, and how good you are at it. If you're not treating people the right way, if you are not investing in relationships, you're only going to get so far. That is among the many lessons Eron Hodges, Associate Director of Player Personnel, now at Alabama, the mecca of college football, learned along his journey from his start in listing in the Navy to his many stops before getting to TCU, Ohio State, and now Alabama. Lessons learned are applicable no matter where you are at in life. Really fun conversation today as Neil and I sit down with Eron here on Scouting the League. Hey everybody, and welcome to Scouting the League. Really excited to jump in with longtime friends, somebody I've known for getting close to 15 years now. Eron Hodges, Associate Director of Player Personnel at Alabama. But before we jump in, make sure you head over, like, subscribe, and share this podcast wherever you are listening and watching. Apple Podcasts, Spotify, the video portion over on YouTube. Hit those like and subscribe buttons. Most importantly, if you're listening, share this with a friend who also should be listening and watching. We want to hear from you. We want to have our growing audienceship. So make sure you share this with somebody who loves football as much as you do. Whether we're talking with guys like Eron today, we're talking scouting with some of our many scouting friends where we're talking about all-star games, or our different companies like Blue Mako, or coming up soon Inactive, where we are bringing you relevant content to the sports world no matter where you're at. So hit those buttons. Make sure you get it out there. I am Rodrik David, former NFL scout, 6 years with the Atlanta Falcons, 1 year with the Tennessee Titans. At Right Step ADV is where you can find me. Go ahead over, give me a follow there. Check out my website, rsafootball.com. If you are somebody in the football world that wants to learn scouting, learn what an agent should be doing at different times of the year, all you new agents, hit me up, hit me an email, give me a DM on X. Let me know what you want to do. We will get together. We will do it. If you are a scout or aspiring scout, make sure you head over, check out thescoutingcommunity.com, a community for either only scouts. Yes, we are exclusive only to scouts in that scouting community group, or our aspiring scouts. Have spots for both of you. Want to continue to help you wherever we can, whether that's data salary surveys, whether that's insurance considerations, connecting you with people that are going to help make your life easier, fill in some of those gaps that some of our NFL teams do not quite have sorted out yet. Again, thescoutingcommunity.com is the spot to check that out all out. Scouts, if you have questions on that, hit me up. Let me know. If you don't have my number, you can probably find somebody on your staff or at one of your visits that has my number. Let me know where I can help fill in. The spotlight has been put on some of these colleges, and we want to continue to do that, continue to help you as a scout do your job. But enough about me. Co-host today, Neil Stratton, as always. He is at Inside the League. InsideTheLeague.com is his website, as well as his blog, SucceedInFootball.com. Make sure you check those out, as well as you get and read his new book, Value Picks, all about that 2016 NFL draft. Really big one. A lot of fun involved in that one, so make sure you go check out that. But we will get to all of our Alabama talk today as we bring in our guest, Associate Director of Player Personnel at Alabama, Eron Hodges. Well, Eron Hodges, welcome to Scouting the League.
Welcome. Well, I'm kind of nervous, so thank you. Really appreciate it.
It's fun to get you on here. Again, you and I go way back. Again, 2013, we were both walking the halls at the Woody Hayes Athletic Center in Columbus, Ohio, working for head coach Urban Meyer, which was certainly a learning experience. But you had stops before that. You've had a bunch of stops after that. You are a football lifer. But even before we get to your football life, again, I'm sitting here with a couple of Navy guys. So, I mean, Eron, you're an athlete growing up. You enlisted at Navy. Talk about kind of kind of getting up. Again, we got two Navy guys, so again, you have to have something in common right there. So kind of lead us into it, into your football story.
Uh, well, growing up, I grew up in a family. I got six sisters and three brothers. My parents were married for 32 years before my mom passed away. So we grew up in a very Christian like household, like so Christian where television wasn't allowed in the house. So I fell in love with the game of football by skipping church on Sundays, and we had a detuned monitor or television in the house that had no channels, but we stuck hangers onto the antenna part or whatever, and we picked up Bears games. And so that's how I started. I started watching Bears games, faking sick. I can't go to church, all that stuff. And so that's when my love of football kind of like started. And I was planning to go to college. I had some opportunities coming out, and then 9/11 happened, and that was like a pivotal moment. I remember when the towers came down, everybody were kind of like, nervous about the world and how it's going to end up. And at that point, I was like, why are we going to college? There may not be college in 2 years. And so, against my mom's better judgment, joined the military. Originally wanted to be Army or Marines because I'm a little gung ho uh, like that. I like a good fight. Um, and I was underage, and she said, I'm not signing any paperwork for the Marines or for the Army. And so I tried to be slick. I'm like, well, shoot, she don't know that the Navy SEALs exist. And I was like, they're probably one of the baddest groups on the planet. And
No
so
doubt.
um, I went and I joined and originally wanted to be a Navy SEAL. Went in originally to be a hospital corpsman, and you do all your blood work. So you do your blood tests and all that. And I came back sickle cell trait. Never
Mm,
known that I ever had it. Been an athlete my entire life.
wow.
Never knew. And it was like 47% of my cells were sickle, and so that kind of disqualified me from that whole process. And so I end up going undesignated because even though you can't do the job that you wanted to do, you still have to do a job. And so I went undesignated, became aviation bosun mate fuels, which is this is actually one of the purple shirts I wore on deployment. I put on the back of every chair that I've ever worked at any of the schools I've been to, just to remind me that, like, you may have a bad day in the office, but nobody's dying out here, you know. So it's always a good reminder. But did 4 years as an ABF, met three of my best friends. Uh, my guy, Joe, he just retired last year as a chief in the military in the Navy. He was at the game against who we play. Was it Louisiana Monroe? His whole family, my godchildren, they were all there. It was awesome. And then the LSU game, my first three roommates ever, Ben, I'm sorry, Joe, Pete, and Ryan, they'll all be at the LSU game. So it's going to be a nice little Navy reunion. All my guys. So it's a good vibe. It builds a real community of guys that you just love to be around. People who keep you grounded, no matter how high or how low it is in life. You always got good people in your corner to kind of help you, navigate the nuances of life. So the military gave me a great foundation, gave me the ability to have a GI Bill and go to college. It also afforded me the opportunity to have the VA loan, so you could buy a house without putting any money down. And you know, there's some dark sides to it that you know there's no need to discuss, but you know it's a community of people that help you.
Yeah.
So the military is awesome, and I recommend anybody who have no direction or need direction or whatever the case may be, like definitely look into it because it can be life changing and give you the opportunity to later on do cool things like what we're doing now.
Aaron, when I went to the Naval Academy, I walked on. I always call myself probably the worst player on the worst team in the nation the year that I was there. But it did have applications. There were a number of those the coaches that ironically were on my staff that I wound up crossing paths was later on, and it did kind of indirectly prove to be a step kind of towards my career aspirations. Did you have similar experiences that came from being in the Navy, or did it inspire you in any way towards the game?
Um, so it did, because I used to tell people all the time when I was in, like, I'm not supposed to be here. I'm not supposed to be here. I'm here because of 9/11. I'm not supposed to be here. So I used to always carry a football with me. And I used to always play catch in a hangar bay I was on the USS John F. Kennedy CV-67. And so I used to always be in a hangar bay playing catch. And there was a lieutenant at the time who caught me one day, and he was like, "Hey, you know what? He's playing catch back and forth with me. He went to Cal Poly, um, and his name was Lieutenant Victor Glover." Now, fast forward all these years, Vic and I stayed close, and we used to, go on Liberty and play football against other officers, other enlisted people, and all that jazz. And we stayed connected. Vic is now astronaut for NASA and SpaceX, so he was on Crew
Wow.
Dragon. Um, Rod, when we met at Ohio State, I was only getting paid $12,000 a year, and I had a daughter at the time too. So there's no way you can actually support yourself and support a child with $12,000. So I had a boss in the Navy. His name was Kenneth Lake, Petty Officer Lake. Lake retired, and he just so happened to move to Columbus. So when Ohio State called me and gave me, the offer and the pay, I was like, there's no way I could do this. So I called Petty Officer Lake up, who, when he was my boss in the military, I used to always tell him what I'm not gonna do, like whatever. He was like, okay, Hodges, if you don't want to do it, you'll just stay behind for extra military instruction. And so all my qualifications in the military are like due to him. And so he told me, he said, Hodges, is this what you want to do? I said, yeah, that's really what I want to do. He said, well, you can come, you can live in my house. Don't worry about paying me a dime. So I lived at his place for about a year and a half in his study. On his, he had a couch that turned into a bed in his study, and I lived there rent free. And it was just the relationships that the military helped me create that allowed me to take that job, which then, turned into more opportunities later on down the road. So yes, the military in itself built a network of people that on the outside looking in, you will never know the story unless it was some situation like this where you sit down and you say, hey, any benefits that the military actually giving you outside of those, it gave me great people.
Mhm.
And the most important currency in life is not money, it's people.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, well, I mean, we talk about that. It was definitely the theme at the symposium in Nashville. We talk about it all the time on here. The networking, it's who you know, and again, beyond football, we talk about how important it is in the game of football, and coaching staffs and scouting staffs, front office. But again, it's anywhere you go, you meet good people, you get to know them, you invest in them, invest in the relationship. It's going to pay off. It may be a few years, but again, you never know when that thing's going to pop up. And it's a lesson you may learn later than you should have. That was the case for me. But again, if you learn it, you have to invest in it and keep going with it. And obviously showed up for you. And again, you look at the way your career, we'll call it career arc, if it's still arcing. You've been at a bunch of spots. Again, you get a couple of degrees, Illinois State, Kent State, out there in the Midwest. You've made stops at Notre Dame, Valparaiso, St. Joseph's, Texas Tech, Purdue, Louisville, Ohio State, who we've talked about, TCU, and now in your current role at Alabama. That's a lot of stops. That means a lot of people and a lot of opportunities to, again, either develop really good relationships, which I think is your case, or there's probably been plenty of people on the other end who, when they walk out of the building, they're leaving the match behind to, burn that bridge. So talk about kind of your journey through football. You go from the Navy, you get your opportunities starting in football, you start hitting these spots, and you just kind of keep going to where you're now at what a lot of people would consider the mecca or one of the meccas of college football in Alabama.
Again, like we said a little bit ago, like people, So when I was at Illinois State, it was a young lady. She was a strength coach, and I forgot her name. She ended up going to Iowa to be a strength coach, and she was a year ahead of me with my undergrad. and she went and did her internship at Notre Dame, and she killed it. And so the next year, I was like, hey, you know what? I got to do an internship to graduate. I'm just going to piggyback on what she did because she already has a good name. I'm just going to, you know, piggyback her. And so I applied for Notre Dame, end up getting Notre Dame. Um, and Betty Henson, who was the teacher of the class at the time, she said, yeah, great, you already got the internship you want, but you have to interview for 3 total internships. So you have 2 more that you need to do. And then I said, well, Betty, it's a waste of time. I already got the one with the first shot. And so she said, well, at least do 2. And so my second interview, I ended up doing with Coach Glass at Ohio State. So I went to Ohio State, did the interview with the Olympic sports coach Glass. Um, he already knew that I had Notre Dame and all that other stuff. But while I was there, I walked over to football and I met with Rick Cord and Mickey Marotti briefly, and they were like, "Hey, we're full, so sorry." And then I was like, "All right, cool. I mean, I'm good." So I get back on the mega bus, the little 2-stack bus at the time, and I went back home, and I went and did the Notre Dame internship. Coach Elise Angeles, who was absolutely phenomenal. She led the whole entire thing. But then Tony Berlinski, who is the director of Olympic sports still to this day at Notre Dame, he's awesome. And he was a strength coach at Notre Dame for football when Mickey Marotti was there as the head strength coach and Lou Holtz and all of that. And so T-Row is absolutely phenomenal. Tony Berlinski, he's absolutely phenomenal. Still to this day, I haven't worked with him in 15 years, and we still talk a couple times. And he said, hey, you're going to Valpo to be a position coach? He's like, that's dumb. He's like, you need to go to Ohio State. I said, well, the internship is already full. So he said, I'll call you back. So he calls up Mickey Marotti and he tells him, like, hey, you all need to really take a serious look at this kid. He did a phenomenal job for us during this internship. Take a look. And so I get a call the day before I start the Valpo gig, and it's Rick Court. He said, hey, we want to offer you the internship job. And I was like, hey, well, I just accepted a job here coaching. I need to do this. And so he said, well, think about it. We'll have the position available in January. It's yours if you want it. So I did that season. My mom passed away in November of that season. And I needed just a refresh. I needed to make sure that I was busy where grief wasn't like seeping in. And so I knew being a strength coach at Ohio State would do that for me. And so I took the job in January. I remember it was New Year's Eve. My daughter flew in town for New Year's. We hung out all New Year's Eve, all New Year's. And then the day after, I had to leave and drive to Ohio. And so that's where we linked up. I think, was it the first time when I was a strength intern, or was it the second time when I was in personnel?
I think you were in personnel then. That was 2013 when I was there coming through.
So, so it was the first time.
That was the first
So
time.
that was the first time. And so did that, was a strength intern, crushed it. A guy by the name of Greg Gillum, who I saw the other day when we played Wisconsin, because he's now Thick's chief of staff.
Yeah.
He was walking the halls and he said, hey, are you going to be an intern your whole life? And I was like, no, I'm just doing this so I get a really good GA job. And so he called right on the spot Paul Haynes, who just got the job at Kent State as a head coach, who also is at Wisconsin. I saw him at the game this past weekend. And he said, hey, I got a guy for you. Went, interviewed, ended up crushing the interview, getting an opportunity to coach linebackers with Ben Needham for 2 years, and earning my sports management degree for my master's program. And it was phenomenal. That parlayed over into St. Joseph College. You say that there's places that a lot of people may speak highly of me. There's a lot of places that don't speak highly of me, and every superhero is somebody's villain, and every villain is somebody's superhero. So it's just how you look at life and situations. St. Joe, it was a learning experience for me because I realized that there are some kids there who want to be coached hard, who want to be great. No matter what the skill levels, they want to be great. Then there's other kids on the D2 level who just want to be a football player and say they play college football. Me personally, I didn't understand that at the time. So I coached everybody like they were a D1 player. That didn't go over very well. And so it ended up not being a fit, and the head coach decided to let me go.
Yep.
So I'm out of a job um, fairly quickly. Um, it was after spring ball. I'm out of a job, so I was there for probably about 5, 6 months, and I get a call from Roger Terry, and Roger Terry, who's now with the Washington Commanders,
Yep.
he says, "Hey, I'm leaving Ohio State. I got a gig up in Washington. Everybody's throwing your name around here, saying that hey, you'd be a good fit for my replacement." But I told him, "Nah, nah, nah, nah. You're a football coach. You don't want this person." I said, "Roger, I'm out of a job. You better go tell them people like, no, like I'm in." And so Roger goes, he tells them, man, I get a text from, I get a call from Mark Pantoni, get a text from Brian Botolini, and they're saying, hey, uh, Coach Meyer and Mark want to, meet with you and all that jazz when you could be here. I said, tomorrow.
Yeah.
And so I hopped in a car, drove up there. And at the time, I knew better, but I didn't know better because blue is my favorite color. So I walked in with blue pants,
Oh.
blue suede
Oh
shoes,
man.
freaking a white and blue like collared shirt that button all the way up and down. And I'm clean. I'm like clean, like, yeah, I'm about to get this job. So I walk in and I remember I sat with Mark. Mark kind of like we broke down, and no matter who you were when I was strength intern, I used to say hello to everybody in the building. That's just who I am as a person. I think everybody deserves a greeting. Everybody deserves conversation. Everybody, you need to know their name. If they change your trash, you should know their name. And so I used to always pop in Pan's office, just say what's up, invite him to play hoops with us on Mondays and all that jazz. He never played with us. Um, but it was a nice little building block. So when I got the interview, it was seamless in the conversation. But then when I sat down and I talked to um, Coach Meyer was like, you're a football guy. I want a guy who wants to be an NFL GM. I want a guy who, wants to be the next Mark Pantoni. And I'm like, man, dude, I could be all of that and more. I didn't say that to him, but internally, that's how I took it. He said, but the call isn't mine. Mark's going to make the decision. And then Pantoni made the decision. He chose me. And I made it my mission to be the absolute best that Pantoni has ever had and the absolute best that Urban Meyer has ever had. And
Aaron, real quick, did Urban make you go change out of the blue? Because
he did.
the
He did not. He did not. He didn't even mention that I was in blue.
the
Yeah. He.
stories about Urban, I experienced it when I was there in 13 during spring practice. There were some scouts that popped by. I believe it was pro day time. Again, it doesn't matter if you're the Denver Broncos and blue's part of your logo. Hey, go get him a Buckeye shirt to put on. So 100% true that Urban made multiple NFL personnel guys change at different times. Just there's no blue allowed. You don't say that team up north's name.
Hmm.
Yeah, and that is actually factual. I've seen it myself.
Yep.
I got luck for whatever reason, divine intervention, whatever you want to call it. I did not have to walk around with no shoes on,
Yep.
and I was fine.
Yep.
So I know that that's the experience that a lot of people have had with them. That's not my experience.
Yeah.
So I'm very fortunate.
Yeah.
Um,
So you go
but
from Ohio State, you get that Ohio State spot, which again, if you're listening to this podcast, you probably know what Mark Pantoni has meant to the football personnel. He was a GM before a college GM was a thing. Unbelievable learning experience. You want to talk about that? You want to segue past again? You start getting
oh
opportunities
no,
from there.
I gotta give, all credit to the guy who kind of taught me everything that I know and how to build teams, So um, Mark is absolutely phenomenal. You know, um, I didn't know about evaluations. I didn't know, like, yeah, I was coaching and yeah, he's good. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
But you talk about, COD, you talk about, ability to finish, motor, you talk about, ankle mobility, you talk about all these things. I'm clueless. And he taught me everything for the next 3 years. I brought maybe a creative side, to it as well. So um, I'm good with people, so the recruiting piece is easy. The evaluation piece is something that I learned from him. Um, but the creative side, I was always trying to like push the envelope. So we had like contests and competitions, and we didn't have Twitter at the time at Ohio State. Instagram was I started creating videos. So my videos are some of it's not some of, it's the first videos on Ohio State's Instagram platform. So we started utilizing that. Um, and really just building everything from scratch. And so it was a fun time in college football where we had Sammy Silverman, we had Kenton Stufflebeam Hessler, we had Anthony Coughlin, who you're very familiar with. We had Stephen Collier, former player, Ed Terwilliger. We had Weston Zernichel. We had Justin Perez. We had so many elite players. Like when I say elite players, like not players, but
Yeah.
elite like players in their roles that absolutely dominated. Multiple guys now are in NFL. Like Devin. Devin is with the Dolphins as a scout. Like Devin, he was there with us. So we've had like guys in that room that were absolutely phenomenal in their roles. And we all kind of like grew together and learned and developed. But it all started with Mark Pantoni and everything that he had and his vision, and him also giving autonomy to people like me and saying, hey, you know what? Oh, you're good at creativity? All right, take it, run with it. You got a project once a week. Let's see what you got. So that was cool. And I think the turning point in my career was helping in the recruitment of Dwayne Haskins. And that's kind of like when Coach Meyer kind of like took notice. Pan always kind of knew, what I could do, but that's kind of like when Coach Meyer was like, hey, you know what, we got to keep him around. So um, that 12,000 changed, and the role and responsibility changed. Fick ended up leaving to go to Cincinnati. Coach Meyer thought that Fick was going to take me with him. And so that opportunity added to a promotion, at Ohio State, um, and more responsibilities. Took over the walk-on program, ran that. We did really good. We got guys like C.J. Saunders, who ended up being a walk-on, but ended up being a team captain at Ohio State, who then also ended up going to the Carolina Panthers. I brought in Xavier Johnson, who ended up winning the Block O,
Yep.
by his teammates, and made some great plays. I don't think 2 years ago, or was it 3 years ago, that they win the Notre Dame game if it
Right.
wasn't for Xavier Johnson.
Yep.
Um, and so, like, being able to build a walk-on program, these guys who had scholarships to Miami, Ohio, and non-scholarships, getting them in the program, and then them developing inside the system of what Urban and Ryan were able to do. And so my name kind of got out a little bit because of those things. And Jeff Brom at Purdue kind of, gave me a ring, and it was a good opportunity for me to kind of go and, see if all the lessons I've learned for the past 3 seasons, if I could do them
Yep.
on my own.
Right.
And so it was a good experience. It didn't end the way I wanted it, and that's why I say in every story there's a hero and a villain, and sometimes a villain may be a hero of someone else, and vice versa. It didn't end the way I wanted it, but seeing the kids that we were able to bring into Purdue University, and I was talking to Marcus Umbo yesterday, and like, that was the last kid I probably gotten to Purdue or whatever. Um, and he's just starting as a rookie for the New York Giants. And so I'm watching him on TV, and I'm like, my guy, you know what I mean? So it's cool to see like Sanusi Kane, who's making plays with the Ravens. Like, I was one of the guys who believed in Sanusi. People don't even know Marcellus Moore, who is the Big 12 100-meter champion. Like, he was a recruit that we signed at Purdue and was at Purdue for 2 years, and then he transferred after Coach Shep and I, we made our transition other places. So we got so many cool stories from David Bills to Rondell Moores to a host of guys who actually did really well, helped build that team to be the Big Ten West champions. And then it kind of, things happen, and I was fortunate enough. I worked with a guy named Mark Tommerdahl at Purdue, which is why people are the currency. Mark Tommerdahl and I, we're two different human beings. Like, have you seen the clip of the guy who's walking around with a bucket of water and the kicker is about to kick and he just splashes the bucket of water on him?
Yep, yep.
That's Mark Tommerdahl. And so like he's an awesome human being. And so Mark is a very old school classic rock kind of guy. I have a playlist on my phone. It's called Mark Tommerdahl's Greatest Hits. And the playlist is just what Mark likes to hear just because it's some good stuff. And so he left Purdue and went to Texas Tech when Matt Wells became the head coach. After I was let go at Purdue because just differences, when there's social injustice, I'm all about like fighting. I've always been a fighter, as my history says. So when there's social unrest, I've become vocal. And sometimes when you become vocal, you need to temper yourself around your professional career. I did not. And so I was very vocal when Black Lives Matter happened. And I screwed myself. Let's just say that I screwed myself. Like, hey, you got to have masks on all the time. Great. All this other stuff. So I did. But I started to want to be a little bit more creative because we couldn't get kids on campus. And so there was a guy on campus who had Lamborghinis, exotic cars, right? And so I said, hey, you know what? It would be cool if we can like get like a photo shoot like in the stadium and all that, right? And I went ahead, I asked for forgiveness. I don't ask for permission. And so I hooked it up. We didn't have to pay a dime. We got a black and gold Lamborghini. So we had two Lambos, and that was the start of the Lamborghinis in college football. So all the photo shoots, whatever. So we did a photo shoot, and the administration wasn't happy about it. And not so much the athletic administration, more so like chief of staff of football administration. And that kind of led to me getting let go because of, I'm trying to find out like how to make everything cool. It's Purdue. It's Black Lives Matter happening right now, which is an issue. It's COVID that's happening right now, which is an issue. But how do I still get the attention of young people? And so I'm fighting all those things. And I'm trying to be like super cool, super creative, and still keep us rolling with the David Bells and trying to get Wandale Robinson and all those players. And it just wasn't the right move at the right time. That led to me being let go. Love everything about the University of Purdue, all that jazz. But Mark Tommerdahl, he know who I am as a person. Mark Tommerdahl was like, hey, you're out of a job. No problem. We have a job opening at Texas Tech, director of recruiting. I'm going to get you the interview. So he gets me the interview. He picks me up from the airport. He said, you're my guy. I'm not letting anybody else pick you up from the airport. Picks me up from the airport. We then go crush the interview and then get the job. I get to work with awesome people. Ashton Washington, who's now with the Chicago Bears. Preston Pearson, who was the GM at Stanford before they hired Luck, and then Preston is still there killing it. And so, matter of fact, I got the Stanford deal he sent me before the season starts. So I get to work with him, learned a ton from him. He's super smart, super knowledgeable, been in football his entire life. Pops was a coach, all that jazz. So then I'm there for, briefly, and then I get a call from a guy. I call him Superman. Superman knows who Superman is. But there's certain people who I have code names in my phone because I don't want people to know like who they are. And so Superman calls me up and Superman says, "Hey, there's a gig open at Louisville. I think you'll be a perfect fit for. Um, let's see if we can make this happen." So Superman helps me get the interview, crushes it. It's opportunity to be back in the Midwest. I'm there for a season. And then over the course of my career, Brian Carrington, who's now the cornerbacks coach at Arizona State, he gave me a call and he said, "Yo, E, like, we got a spot open at TCU." I'm like, "I'm not going to TCU. Like, bro, you tripping?" And so end up, um, he said, "Hey, just come, just check us out. Just come to town. You'll love it." I go to town. I'm like, "Oh, shoot, Fort Worth. Hello. Like, this is nice. You know, the campus is awesome. The people were awesome." And so ended up saying, "Hey, you know, I think TCU is a good move. We had a good run. We brought in year one, the best class in the history of the school. Um, and then that turns into the national championship run. And then the following year, we had kind of like a not a great year, um, but it was still an awesome ride. Sonny, his family, they're absolutely awesome. And then um, Court and we linked up during COVID, and we were just like communicating. And a friend of mine called me to try to get a job with Court when Court came here from Washington. And I called Court up and was like, "Hey, Court, you know, is this position available or whatever?" He said, "No, that position not available." He said, "But we are looking to hire somebody for personnel. So if you know somebody, let me know." I said, "Let you know?" I said, "Court, what?" So he was like, "Bro, like I didn't think you'd be interested." I said, "Man, yeah." And so he said, "I'll call you right back." And so during my time at Purdue, Jamarcus Shepard, our co-offensive coordinator, wide receiver coach, we were at Purdue for 3 years together.
Yeah.
Again, people being the currency. And we became really close then. When I got married, he was in Washington. Him and his family flew from Washington to Columbus, Ohio for one night just to celebrate my wife and I's marriage. A phenomenal human being. And he calls my phone. He was like, "Hey, hey, hey, Court said that you might be coming." And so he said, "You better not be playing with us. You better not be playing." I said, "Bro, like, I'm not playing. You know what I mean? I got to talk to my wife, but I'm not playing." And so Court called me back and he said, "Hey, everything's good. Let's roll." And so I talked to my wife. My wife was like, "Absolutely." And then we kind of, made the transition and um, had some opportunities early on to leave for a couple of GM roles, but when you work with your friends, it has to be the right timing. And I didn't feel like it was the right timing to, up and leave people that you care about, because again, my whole thing is people being my currency. So try to do right by everybody, but at some points in life, I mean, if you do right by everybody, you're not doing right by yourself.
Right. Yeah.
So you gotta there's a balance um, that you have to kind of like focus on as well.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I mean, it's an incredible journey. The number of moves. I mean, still managing a family, daughter, again, maintaining some level of sanity in this world that is, again, even. It seemed like football was 24/7 back in 2010 to 2015. So, like, yeah, just put that on steroids to where it is now, and you are now at a spot with relatively new head coach, Coach DeBoer. Still, again, you don't establish a culture and your way of doing things in 1 year. It's going to take some time. Certainly, what he's doing. Again, he's been a winner everywhere he has been. I was unfortunately on the other end of that at Nebraska Wesleyan University when Sioux Falls used to curb stomp us every year on their march to the national championship. And again, phenomenal coach. Talk about what you have learned, how you've started doing things at an established mecca of college football in Tuscaloosa. Again, between evaluation, valuation, what you're doing now, and how you guys are, again, we'll say, going to get back to where everybody expects you to this year.
Well, I think it all starts with the people and the staff. I think that uh, Coach DeBoer and Courtney put together a staff full of unbelievable people. Like we smile, we laugh, we joke, we enjoy each other. From Kerrigan to Miss Ashley and Bob retained. They're phenomenal people. And then you say, hey, Jatavis, who was brought in from NC State. You say Tony Jones, who was brought in from Michigan. You say Jared McElwain, who was brought in from Washington. Kevin Green, Washington. Um, it's a mixture of people from all walks of life, different experiences, who all have different ideas of football evaluation and valuation for that matter. Um, and we all have meetings a lot, and we all get to put our opinions out there on the table, and kind of shake it all out. I think that when you have too many people who are yes men, that's when you put together a team that is subpar. But when you have conflict always bring out the absolute best in everyone because conflict is competition. So I think we do a good job of saying like, hey, this is what I like about this player. This is what I don't like about this player. I like this player, but his character is X, Y, Z. We try to do a thorough job in vetting everybody who come into this building as a prospect and then as a person as well. Because I've never seen, I've never seen a bad human being become a Hall of Famer. You know, Somebody may have seen it. I've never seen it. A good football player have to exist inside of a good human. A bad human being and a good football player cannot exist in the same body. So weeding out like just mannerisms, like how you talk to your father, how you talk to your mom, how you treat your like those things matter, So I think we do a good job of number one evaluating our non-negotiables, but then also making sure that we're bringing good people in the building every single day.
Aaron, I look at your LinkedIn profile, and even today, you've been very candid about you've had some short stays in some places. I think when I talk to people and I kind of help them advise their careers very humbly, I'm reluctant to tell them to stay for only 3 4 months, sometimes 5 months, less than a season. Sometimes you were there just in an off season.
Hmm.
Were you ever reluctant to do that? I mean, how have you been able to negotiate that and continue to take steps forward and take steps upward? Because I think a lot of people are sensitive to that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Um, so I think like when I left Tech, Matt Wells, who is an awesome dude, we're good relationship. Like he was very vocal about me not leaving, and my good friend Mark Tomerdahl, he was vocal to me about not leaving, right? Um, but it was something that I felt was a better situation for my career and my family. Now, if it's that's how I negotiate with myself, right? It's like, hey, better for career, family, check. If it's better for career, maybe not do it if it's not better for family. So, like my checks and balances, like the legislative, judicial, executive branch, like there's checks and balances to every system. So for me, my check and balances is career, family. It has to be beneficial for both in order for me to make a short-term move. Um, and really that's like my guidelines and my principle, behind those short stays is like, hey, it's time to go. My wife is awesome. She's smart, got her degree from Ohio State in neuroscience. Like when we bought our house in Lubbock, Texas, she sold it herself. We did not use a realtor. She did, like, she figured everything out. She's phenomenal. So like having not just a wife but a true partner that says like, hey, it's time to go. You know, that's what makes it easier, I
Hmm.
guess you could say. But there don't get it twisted. There is a reputation that comes with quick stays. You know what I mean? There's a reputation, and that's also why when the opportunity came about, in July, I was here for 4 or 5 months, and that's why I couldn't take the GM opportunity at the time. It was great place, great head coach, great people. It just the timing wasn't right, and inside our little groups, we were talking about it. It was um, Blanche, Courtney, and myself. We were all on three-way, and we were talking about it, and the conversation was like, "Hey, man, like." I don't know if I would have made that same move if I was you. And I'm like, hey, but I'm with good people. I'm with friends. So, good things that happen. We just gotta, keep working, keep grinding, whether good things happen in a professional sense from here or good things happen from a professional sense elsewhere. Good things are always going to happen to good people who always put the mission of kids first and help them guide them on their path to wherever they want to go in life.
Yeah. I mean, Aaron, correct me if I'm wrong. Like every one of those, again, when you ultimately make that decision to leave somewhere, again, there's probably some conversations. Most spots, there's probably some conversations. Then there's the emotional reaction of, man, Aaron's leaving. Like, it hurts personally. And again, you maybe not know the full story, but again, in most of those situations, again, going back, good people understand a month or two from now. It's like, yeah, I guess I can understand why he made that decision. And again, staying in touch in the right way, again, goes back to having good people, being around good people. They're going to look at it a couple months from now and be like, yeah, I can see why he made that decision. Which again, it may have been few of those little road bumps where in the relationship,
Hmm.
whatever. But again, smooth sailing again, and it's like, hey, that like, yeah, I was salty. You want people to be salty when you leave because it means they're losing somebody that they like,
Good.
that's doing
Yeah.
a good job. If every stop you're at along the way is like, oh yeah, oh good luck out there, we're really happy for you. It's like, are you going to even fight for you to stay a little bit? Again, that's always that balance, right?
It's always that balance. But the time always kind of, tells like Louisville when I was deciding to go to TCU, they put up a hell of a fight. And still to this day, like Sat and all those people, they're good people. They're my peoples. Um, but you can see like a year after leaving Louisville, like the transition that Sat made to Cincy, and then you see after I left um, Texas Tech, like Matt Wells have an unbelievable start to the season, go 5-1, and he gets let go. And so when you say time will always prove it out, for me, like time always proved it. St. Joe in that situation, they closed the school down. St. Joseph College doesn't even exist. They closed the school down. Um, Freaking 6 months after I left. So for all those short stays, if you go back and you kind of like do the research or the trend, like something happened where it was like, hey, was it divine intervention that kind of like led this to happen this way and helped make this decision for me and those things. But my wife always tell me just look forward. She said don't look back, because I look back and I wish I would have did this different. I could have been like this, and she's just like, you're gonna drive yourself crazy.
Yep.
Don't look back.
Yeah. Yeah. So you talked about being with good people along the way. Again, doing your due diligence, whether it's people you're working for, people you're working with. Again, now at Alabama, the players you bring in. Again, it used to be, hey, we've got maybe 2 years to recruit this kid, get to know the kid, get to know his family. There's still that element, but again, you throw in that transfer portal with the way it is
Yeah.
now. Your 1 year free agency. Again, for a school like Alabama, you're most of the time you're going to have some sort of recruiting background still on those players you bring in the portal. But how do you balance that? Hey, we need to get to know this kid really, really fast if we're going to be again giving him money to come in and play on this roster. This year, how have you balanced that to make sure you're not making breakneck decisions on good players with a real short term look?
I think it's very similar to, the NFL and how the NFL do free agency. You may have his profile based off of what he did in college, But then 4 or 5 years later, it's a totally different person. Like from a personality standpoint, you know what they could bring out on the field, which is what we do. We watch and we see, okay, what do they bring to the table on the field? But then you have that short time period where you get to find out as much as you can about the person. And this is where I think high school coaches play a major role still. The um, the relationship that you build with high school coaches, like they're able to tell you, hey, yo, like, no, this kid was awesome for me when I had him 2 years ago. His family situation is X, Y, Z. This is what you need to be on the lookout for. So me personally, I utilize my high school coaches more than anything. And I try to make sure that I reciprocate the information I have to get from them. I'm trying to make sure I reciprocate that with whatever you need, whether it's coach's clinic, whether it's clinic tape, whether you need to talk to the special teams coordinator and get how he do onside kicks in the game against whatever we play. So just making sure that those relationships are still intact so that when you do need information, that is not, hey, I'm only hitting you because I need something. So throughout the whole entire recruiting process, no matter if I'm at Alabama, are there kids right now that we're not going to take at Alabama? Absolutely, there are kids that we're not going to take at Alabama right now. But that doesn't mean you stop building a relationship and helping kids out on their journey. And that's why I think more than anything, it's not so much about the logo. It's about your mission. Do you truly love doing what you're doing and helping kids? Because if you do, then it doesn't matter where this kid goes. I talk to kids all the time who won't play at Alabama, but guess what? Still come to a game, still enjoy yourself, still, because I don't know who you're going to develop into in the next 2 years, but I know this relationship needs to be intact because people are the currency. And as long as you put people first and their needs and their hopes, dreams, and ambitions, and you help feed it, then good things are always going to come back, to you in ways that you won't even be able to believe.
Yeah.
Eron, you have future GM on your LinkedIn profile. At this point in your life, are you more comfortable? Is that more college GM or more NFL GM?
For me, it's more college because I'm familiar with this landscape. Um, that's kind of like a college scout, going to, I mean, a NFL scout going to college and being a GM. There's just so many nuances. It's just different. Like even at the symposium, we're hearing legends in the NFL talk, and now they're college GMs, and they're like, it is just totally different. I don't understand that landscape, so I will have to defer to somebody like Anthony Coughlin or Roger Terry to be an NFL GM, and they roll with that. For me, uh, I think that college is where I'm supposed to be because this is where I can invoke the most change in young people. Like personally, I'm an inner city kid from Chicago. I know what it's like to be in the worst. I know what it's like to have roaches and rats in the crib. I get it. I want kids to understand that even though you make all this money now, you don't have to be what the hood expect you to be. You know what I mean? Nice chain, nice car. Like I want you to get 40 acres and a mule. I want you to get, property. I want you to invest it. I want you to, like I put something on my Instagram yesterday. I Show Speed was down at the New York Stock Exchange, and it was a guy educating him like, hey, do you buy every Apple phone that come out? He's like, yeah, I do. He was like, why don't you just buy stock in Apple? Do you buy every pair of Nike or Jordans that come out? Why don't you buy stock in Jordans? My mission is to educate, impact, and empower the next generation of young people. Now, in the event of doing that, like you might get, to go to the college football playoff and play for a national championship, maybe even shoot, maybe win one year. But the mission for me is helping young men figure out life so that we can be better as a nation, be better as a country, be better as humanity. And to me, football is my vehicle in which I use to do that. Life is about service and giving to others. And I think the more that you serve, the more that, life will open up for you and give you the desires of your heart. But first you got to be diligent in serving. So for me, you know, my service is here helping young people grow and develop. And if that mission ever changed, then Neil, you'll be the first to know.
Yeah, I mean that's the unique thing about football in general. It doesn't matter what level you're at. again, it's conversations I've had multiple times. You can learn a lot of life's lessons no matter where you go to, what industry, what you choose to do. You learn them real fast and real hard either way in the game of football, from teamwork, from it's the military. Again, I don't have the military background. People that have had the conversation with, it's similar in the military. You're going to learn it real hard and real fast. Again, whether that's for the good or for the bad, depending on your situation, you're going to burn or come out of the fire different.
Hmm.
Again, football is certainly that way. Again, to have good people that don't just want to win, but we want to do the right things also while winning. Because again, we know that to have the impact, the staying impact, well, you better win some games along the way
Yes.
to build the culture. Again, what Saban was at Alabama before that, what Coach DeBoer did at Sioux Falls and at Washington now, and what Urban did at Ohio State and Florida. Again, what Tress did at Ohio. Like, you just look at all these coaches that have had sustained success, talked about doing the right things, doing it the right with the right people. That all goes into the culture, which again, you usually see it on the other side. It's the NFL dilemma we talk about all the time, being a 1, 2, or 3 year and done head coach at any level. Yeah, good luck establishing any of those things that you want to do that's ultimately going to lead to success on the other end.
Yeah. 100.
It's a conundrum. But as we wrap up, Eron, one of the big things, are you involved with scouts when they're coming through Alabama?
So, throughout my career, I've been involved with it here. Bob handles all of it. A former NFL scout and everything like that. It just makes sense for Bob to handle all that. But I do get to spend some time with him just because there's a bunch of guys that I know and have great relationships with, and so it's fun. It's fun. So it
Alabama
just
has been a benchmark visit. It's one that gets, again, everybody in the SEC compare. All right, well, Alabama does this, and again, it's again, even outside of it, is Alabama with Coach DeBoer now are still a benchmark? Are you guys wide open still, given all the information? Are scouts? Are you as welcoming as ever to these scouts coming through?
um, absolutely. I would. I don't know how it was before Coach DeBoer got here, but I know how it is now. And this is probably one of the visits that is open door policy for everybody. The guys that come, they sit, they eat, they enjoy themselves, they talk ball, we talk players, we open up the doors, and I think is a first class act in how we've done things. And what people don't realize that the infrastructure here at Alabama is the exact same. Like our athletic trainer, Jeff Allen, he's been here 17 years. You got Chap, you got Haha Clinton Dix, you got Denzel, like all of these guys been here for years, play for Coach Saban and all that. So the infrastructure is very much in place. So there's etiquettes that we have continued and just rolled over from the previous staff.
Yeah. Again, we have not heard. I think if Alabama became a bad visit this year, last year, moving, we would hear about it.
I'll be
Certainly,
hearing
as
soon.
it
I will
is,
be hearing soon
it's
about it.
becoming again. No more North Carolinas. We're doing what we can to get Bill straightened out up there in Chapel Hill, and again, really to shed light on again allowing scouts, NFL scouts, to do their job. Again, people like you that know the players, that know, again, not at this point, not just players on your own roster, but again, probably going to get asked about some of these guys coming out of TCU at Louisville, guys
Hmm.
that are leaving Alabama, going to other rosters. Again, that is the changing nature of
Yeah.
college football is NFL scouts having to do their character work for about 4 or 5 schools when going into Tuscaloosa. So it's going to be a lot of fun. Eron, you're at X, you're on Insta, you're Eron Hodges, Eron Hodges, same handle on both. Man, again, we could sit here and keep going for a couple hours. I'd imagine we'll have to get you on again at some point. As
Yeah,
we
we talked zero evaluations, we talked zero recruiting, we talked zero, where do we see things going? So definitely more than willing to hop on some other time and and talk a little bit more ball.
Yeah.
We talked a lot about the value of relationships, and I think that's the foundation of all this stuff anyway, Aaron. So
Absolutely.
Yeah.
it's an
Well,
important, still an important hour.
yeah, you've committed on air, so we've got it recorded. So we will certainly, without question, hold that over your head at some point when we want to get you back on. Uh, and that's the value of having stuff on video, right? Again, there's good and bad with having
Evidence.
everything recorded now, right? So no, it's been fantastic. Again, go win a bunch of games, keep bringing people in. Again, it's gonna be fun to see. Again, what you guys doing, again, some really fun, exciting players, and I think without question the best is still in front of both you and this program. Just keep going. So really appreciate you being on.
I appreciate you all. Thanks for having me. And Neil, appreciate, during COVID, the newsletters that you send out and the things that you've done to kind of like educate us and keep everybody in the loop of things that go on in not just college, the NFL, but those have been really helpful. I just want to make sure I got a chance to say thank you for those things. They've been helpful and kind of just want to give you your flowers because I know it's not easy to be consistent,
I'm by your
So
praise, Aaron. I appreciate it, man. It's my pleasure to serve in that tiny role. Hopefully, I'll be able to help a few people.
yes,
Thanks again,
sir.
brother.
Yes, sir. And Rod, thank you, my brother. As always, it's a pleasure. Um, and hopefully I get to see you soon, my brother.
Hopefully soon. All right. Thanks, guys.
All right, roll tide.
Agents, before we go, make sure you go check out Agent Live 360. It is at agentlive360.com for everything you need for your agency, from players to coaches, managing profiles, tracking invoices, sending invoices, getting paid, keeping up on every element of your entire agency. Notification emails, file, folder storage, ROI, transactions, invoices, calendar, contracts, teams, reps, everything all in one spot for you. That is Agent Live 360. Hop on, request a demo. Yours truly will hop on, walk you through it. I can promise you we will talk some football as well. Sign up now with code TRIAL90 for a 90-day, 3-month trial at just $10 a month for Agent Live 360. That's at agentlive360.com. Go check it out now.